Our attention is slowly drawn from the stage to notice the curtain, and then to wonder what's behind the curtain. Once we peek behind it and see who and what is calling out the things that appear on our stage of life, we're blown away by what we have revealed to ourselves. Our mouths drop open in surprise at the true nature of things, and we are astonished at our contribution to how these things come to be on our stage. So astonished that for a while, many of us hang out and watch the play unfold, focusing our attention on the sleight of hand going on here behind the curtain. But not for long. Before long, each of us suddenly find ourselves back on stage again, playing our role, falling into the rhythm of the performance at hand, for the moment forgetting what we saw going on behind the curtain. Because though standing there behind the curtains and having a hand in what happens on stage was certainly amazing, even so, we are drawn to experience these things we have created, not to just observe them. And so, for a moment, we give into the softness of this veil that temporarily covers our eyes and causes us to forget. And we find ourselves back on stage, experiencing our experiences, but every now and then casting a knowing glance at what lies behind the curtain. In this way, we find ourselves sometimes torn and a little confused, because anyone who has peeked behind the curtain for even a moment recognizes their identity as both actor and director. Being the actor seems to come intuitively, but the mysterious magic of being the director still tugs at our mind and heart and calls us to join it, to consciously rediscover this process that we can't initially fathom but are still drawn to like a familiar face. And we find ourselves quietly torn because it doesn't seem possible to do both at once. Which is the right choice? This is another unspoken question that many of us have quietly arrived at, much to our surprise. We clearly see these two worlds, but we don't see how it's possible to reconcile them. So which one is the right choice? The popular opinion is to see the world as something to overcome and to focus our efforts on becoming the director. And it seems to make sense. It seems like that could be why we're here. However, before one goes too far down this path, the wise will consider that without the world, what would the director have to direct? At this point, we suddenly realize we aren't supposed to choose between the actor and the director, and that we are the connector, the bridge that brings these two things together. And with this knowing, we realize we must hold the actor in one hand while holding the director in the other. We see that we are the means by which these two relate, and we are the way in which they are juggled, and that they both may exist simultaneously. We are both actor and director, a feat that may seem at first a bit like trying to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time, but it's far from impossible. In fact, there's a great deal of joy and fun in learning this balance if we give ourselves to it and don't take ourselves too seriously. And so when you reach this junction, I want you to realize you don't have to abandon your instinctive interaction with what you think of as the world. It's not a mistake or something to be overcome or transcended. It is an expression of the director in you. And the two are linked in this way, and that's the trick. That's the balancing act here. To reconcile the two. To live in the world you have created while you create the world that you will live in. Can you see this? And this is why we are drawn to experience and consciously recognize both. Please join me in part 2 of Reconciliation.